At a certain point, it's not about practice. It's whether you've got something special. And maybe you just don't.
The Umbrella Academy exceeded expectations on all levels. With so much competition in the superhero genre, the Netflix original's first iteration of the comic book adaptation is able to hold its own against the more established heavyweights of the genre like The Flash, Luke Cage, and the King of Vengeance, The Punisher. Veteran actress Ellen Page, perhaps using her X-Men Days of Future Past Kitty Pryde powers to transport her consciousness into Vanya, is the leading lady of the show. We know now, like Jean Grey's The Phoenix in the X-Men, that number 7 is by far the most powerful of the Hargreaves. The questions we are going to explore in this video are: what are Vanya's powers? Why did her family keep them hidden from her? And where will her powers take her and her motley crew of a family in the much-anticipated Season 2? Season 1 Recap. In Umbrella Academy mythology, October 1st, 1989 was a very special day in the history of childbirth. Not 1, not 2, but 43 babies were born of mothers who had no idea they were pregnant until labor began. Imagine trying to explain that to your parents. Of those 43, 7 were adopted by billionaire Sir Reginald Hargreaves. He raised them as his own with the Stepford wife-inspired android mother Grace and the sophisticated Wind in the Willows type chimp Pogo. The least remarkable of all the children is number 7, Vanya, or so we are told. She is excluded from the superhero family's capers because she has no powers. Through the course of Season 1, we find out that she was indeed the most powerful of all of them, though. So powerful, in fact, that she destroys the entire world. The core 7, including the ghost of Ben, are able to teleport out in just the nick of time, leaving the Earth in ruins. Other survivors are Hazel and his lover Agnes. Sorry, Cha-Cha, but you should have been nicer. 2. Family Secrets. The Hargreaves family were all in on it. Sir Reginald observed Vanya like a science experiment and even tried to train her, making her explode wine glasses with her mind. Allison, aka the Rumor, used her powers to suppress Vanya's, and they put her on meds to keep her under control. Why? Perhaps to protect her from herself. Like the Dark Phoenix in X-Men, if her power were to be let loose, she could harm herself or everyone around her, making her a target for the authorities. Sir Reginald may have also wanted to harness her power for himself. Perhaps having bored billionaire syndrome, old Reggie may have craved a different kind of power. There is also the fear of what she may become. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And with all those abilities available to her and her inability to control them, she risks becoming a tyrant. Although control does not equal love, in this case, it could be the form of love that her family was giving to her in order to try and save the world from her. 3. Vanya's powers, psychokinesis. Like Carrie in Stephen King's classic story of the same name, Vanya's powers are in sync with her emotions. In the beginning of the episode Changes, we see her in 1993 as a 7-year-old launching her French singing nanny into her toy castle using only her mind. The next nanny gets it even worse and gets launched out of a window. I guess murder is legal on the premises of the Hargreaves estate. It's only when confronted with the immortal Grace that Vanya behaves herself and eats her oatmeal. It seems as though Vanya was more of a take animals apart children of the corn kind of child. When she grows up and finds out about how her boyfriend Leonard lied to her and stole her medication, she gets so worked up that she takes out Leonard in his home with her psychokinesis. Then when she confronts Luther at the mansion, he incapacitates her and locks her in the isolation chamber. This provocation gets her powers cranked all the way up, and she psychokinetically destroys the mansion. Whoa. 4. Vanya's powers, the Apocalypse Suite. At the Icarus Theater, Vanya shows us that through her violin playing, she can summon up a kind of energy that can manifest itself like Hadoukens on her targets. She can also very gently hold her targets in the air and drain them of their life force as she looks them in the eyes. Creepy. When Allison disrupts her by firing a round right next to her ear, she drops her adopted siblings and inadvertently sends an energy pulse from her chest all the way up to the moon. This causes the moon to explode and sends a continent-sized chunk of it into our precious planet. She's not the first superhero we've seen throw a piece of a moon in a fury, as we've seen Thanos throw a moon at Tony Stark in Avengers Infinity War. Where it gets scary, though, is that it seemed Thanos' moon throwing was a carefully calculated strike, whereas Vanya's moon throwing seemed way beyond her control. It's as if her powers simply happened through her, and she is just a vessel. It's that inability to control the magnitude of her strikes that worries us. 5. Vanya's powers. ATMOKINESIS. Right off the bat, when we first see our fair lady, she finds out about the passing of her adopted father. She says, "Dad," and it begins to rain. This is a clear indication that she has atmokinetic or weather manipulating powers, like Storm from X-Men, although she doesn't seem to realize it right then. Think that was just a coincidence? So did we, until we saw the day that wasn't. When Vanya walks down the street with Leonard, upset because she finds out her family hid so much from her, she makes it rain and bends the street lamps.
That's a coincidence.
And if you're not fully convinced, again in the day that was, Leonard and Vanya are heading back to his car late at night when they get into an altercation with some beer-swigging baddies. It starts raining cats and dogs. Unrelated, you say? We think not. When she makes it rain, it's not like when Lil Wayne makes it rain, as this time she releases a 360-degree energy blast that puts everyone in a 10-foot radius of her in the ICU. She's a real dangerous woman if you get her worked up. 6. Season 2 theories. If you could turn back the hands of time, knowing what you know now, where would you go? What would you do? This is the privilege the 7 surviving Hargreaves have, as number 5 will be taking them back to a time where the world has not ended as their younger selves. What do we at the Binger predict for Season 2? We believe they will try and try and try to tame Vanya, but she is a wild horse, destined to go her own way. We believe they will do the best they can to suppress, teach, and even brainwash her, but in the end, she will overpower them. With Allison voiceless and Vanya aware of what the medication does to her, we believe it will end like X-Men: The Last Stand. In that movie, Logan, the indestructible man, must put down the one he loves the most, Jean Grey, when her phoenix powers go off the charts and she becomes an intergalactic public danger. When Vanya goes nuclear, we believe it will be up to the strongest Hargreave, Luther, with some help from the others, to put down the sister they love, and you thought your family had problems. With no definite release date for Season 2, we just have to patiently wait to see if we're right. 7. What happens in the comics? In the comics, the character of Vanya is quite a bit higher strung than the one on screen is, and dresses quite in line with that, literally wearing a tight white violin suit. In the Apocalypse suite, Vanya is shown via the character of the conductor, whom she really is, and goes off her meds. He gets her to play in his concerto to kickstart the apocalypse, and her, in turn, can get revenge on her familial enemies. In the issue finale, it is number 5 that actually shoots her in the head. She keels over, and the seance stops the moon from colliding with the earth with her telekinesis, completely averting the apocalypse. Vanya survives, with her future violin-playing ability uncertain. In the Umbrella Academy, Dallas, Vanya wakes up in a hospital bed in Texas with amnesia in 1963, the time and the place of the Kennedy assassination. The mute Allison puts her in a memory recalibration room full of monitors recounting their life story, jogging her memory. When the Umbrella Academy is cornered into aiding the political execution of JFK, after their success, number 5 recites a chilling poem, whose last lines are, "What you find, it might astound you, 'cause the world, my friend, is big enough without you." Showing that the team's innocence is lost, and they've gone dark. Then in Hotel Oblivion, Allison and Grace are helping to rehabilitate Vanya, whose spirits are really low. Finally, the android mother gives her a big dose of tough love and dumps her from her wheelchair, forcing her to sink or swim in terms of walking again. Miraculously, Vanya is able to walk again, and as a reward, Grace introduces her to a new crime-fighting family. one that mirrors her own with a slightly more religious feel to it. They welcome her as one of their own. While the rest of the Umbrella Academy is losing a battle to Dr. Terminal and his supervillain team, they are saved at the last minute by this new super team, its leader introducing himself as Number 1 Cool. Any story where man tries to control nature ends badly for man. Man fears what he can't conquer and hates what he doesn't understand. That's the Vanya paradox. Just like the macho man Randy Savage, she's too hot to handle and too cold to hold. And so she and her volatile powers will be the primary focus for Season 2's Umbrella Academy adventure. What are we gonna do when Vanya runs wild? Well, we're gonna watch. What did you think of our list of Vanya's powers? Do you think the Hargreaves family are out to get her? Or do you think they had her best interests at heart? What do you think will happen in Season 2? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more from The Binger. Adios, amigos.